Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your guy Perrier back with another video. And this time I want to go ahead and discuss something very important. Should you go ahead and just get the M4 iPad Pro? And my answer is no. Would you believe me if I told you that there's a device just as good for a fraction of the price? Well, I'm here to tell you that that device exists in the form of the M2 iPad Pro. Why pay more? All right, so I'm not here to waste your time. I really just want to go ahead and break down we'll just call it top reasons for considering the M2 iPad Pro, over the new joints. The M4 iPad Pros, they got the new tandem OLED screens. They are thinner, they are lighter, they are more powerful. But after the M4 dropped, I decided to upgrade my damn self. And I decided to just go for the M2 iPad Pro, specifically the 12.9. So first reason for me is going to be performance. Performance, you're really not going to see a big difference between the M4 and the M2, especially if you're not doing anything super intensive. So this does not, I'm not speaking to the super professionals out there that really rely, just on the iPad Pro for creative work, drawing, or maybe really doing, heavy duty video editing on it. But the individuals that do need the power, but they can do it on a last gen iPad Pro. Performance is going to be fine. You're going to be able to handle video editing. You're going to be able to handle photo editing. And if you're like me, who does music production, you're definitely going to be able to do music production, especially with Apple releasing Logic Pro for the iPad. I will do a separate video on that as well, kind of do a revisit. I think I did a video on that maybe a year or so ago when it dropped, but I want to go ahead and revisit it, especially on this device. So again, performance is going to be top notch. You're really not missing a whole lot. Reason number two, the screen quality is still amazing. I really, again, focusing on the 12.9, mini LED is where it's at. When I hold this device, it just looks clean. It's still thin. It's just not as thin as the M4. And for me, even the weight, I don't really struggle using this. You know what I'm saying? But focusing on the screen quality is amazing. Selfless plug. My album, is still out, available everywhere. I don't have an issue with the screen. It gets plenty bright. Like, it kind of blew me away when I tested out the some videos, did the standard Costa Rica iPad video YouTube test, and it looked great. So for me, screen quality is great. Reason number three, and this might be a hot take. But I don't care. This thing is portable. It's portable. Me personally, I love using this in tablet mode most of the time. I have it docked right now on my Magic Keyboard, and this combination alone, I'm not gonna say it's light, but it's fine. But I don't really use this in the keyboard like that. I usually take it off of the keyboard, and if I'm just browsing and I'm just checking out even if I'm video editing, which I get into another video with that, I use LumaFusion, but I also have Final Cut available there too. I might do a video on that. But even just being able to just take this one hand and just tapping away with the Apple Pencil with the other hand, like it's not a problem for me. Like, it works. I usually handle this tablet in my hands. I don't usually have it sitting on the desk. I don't usually have it docked. I only have it docked when I'm ready to do some work on a desk or whatever, when it makes sense. But generally, when I'm handling the iPad, especially the 12.9 variant, it's in my hands. Multitasking is another reason I enjoy using the M2 iPad Pro. Multitasking is great. The big screen just makes multitasking, tapping into different applications quickly, fast, side by side, 3x3, 4x4, whatever you want to do, iPad can handle it. It's great. It's a great multitasker, especially as someone like myself. I don't have a laptop or, a MacBook or anything like that, or a Windows laptop. I have a Windows laptop for work. I have a desktop that I use personally. I have my iMac and I've done content on that, which I love, and I'm still, still glad to have. But it's a desktop. It stays stationary. So this becomes my laptop replacement, and I feel like for this and for everything I'm able to do, especially with the multitasking, just easy. It's easy. It's easy to just pick up, quick, fast. I'm able to have multiple applications, side by side. If I'm doing some research, if I'm doing any writing, if I'm, editing my website, if I'm doing anything at all, it's just easy because multitasking on this with iPad OS, which is controversial, but it works. And this is a great segment into my last reason for having the M2 iPad Pro. I think iPad OS has matured to a point to where you can really appreciate what Apple, what they're doing with the software. I think I've seen so many comments and so many ideas that we should be dual booting into Mac OS. It should just have Mac OS so we can just use this, and just bruh. They're not going to do that. They don't want to do that. They want you using the MacBook. They want you using the iMac. They want you using the Mac Studio. They want you using that operating system on those devices. iPad OS, they want you using it on the iPad. Now, I think what we'll continue to see is that we'll continue to see features maybe borrowed from Mac OS and, sprinkled into iPad OS in its own little version. But I think for me personally, for what I use it for, being realistic, I think it works great in its current form. There's not a whole lot. I think Stage Manager for me, again, I know others differ, but I think Stage Manager for me, that really allowed the iPad to unlock a lot of its potential. I think multitasking for me was always a big thing, and being able to utilize Stage Manager, especially on a screen as big as this, it makes it make sense. It makes it to where I can really get stuff done. And I also use stuff like Universal Control. I love using that in conjunction with the iMac. It's like, I really like that feature. That feature is years old, but I still use it today. So I said all that to say this. I think that a lot of the features that I just discussed, you're going to be able to do maybe a little quicker on the M4 iPad Pro. Cool. But I will say this, that the M2 iPad Pro, it has a lot of those features. It has the good screen, maybe not tandem OLED, but it has a good screen. It has a large screen that's nice and vivid, maybe not as nice and maybe not as light as the M4. But I will say this, if you're not going to be pushing this to the limit, just go ahead and get an older generation. If you have money to splurge, have the money to splurge. But for me, I always try to consider myself a smart tech shopper. And for me, I think this makes sense. Everything that you're going to need to do, you can do it on the M2. Hell, you can do it on the M1. Hell, you can do it on the 2020 version. It don't matter. So, I'm just trying to help some potential buyers make an informed decision. Like I said, if you want the new hotness, it's there. I think it's probably the best upgrade that they had to the iPad since the 2018 iPad Pro. But just know that you have options that are available from Apple, like the M2 iPad Pro. Thank y'all so much for checking out this video. I do appreciate it. And listen, I'm going to check y'all out on the next one. Peace.